Nice. Welcome, everybody. My name is Marty Mascari. I'm with the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging and the North Central Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center. Thanks for joining us today. Today, we've got Dr. Mottern with us once again to talk about my loved one is refusing to take the medications. What should you do? And so before we get started, I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping issues here. If I can advance my slides, right? Let's see if I can. There we go. First of all, we're going to talk about our continuing education units and the certificates of attendance that are available today. We're offering CEUs for both licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors. And we're set up to do that in the state of Texas. If you're from outside of Texas, you're more than welcome to go through the process and get a CEU certificate. Whether your jurisdiction would take that or not, we don't know. Again, we're set up in Texas. But I have heard from people before that they've been able to use them. I don't know what jurisdictions they were in, so you would have to just check with your jurisdiction. The certificate of attendance is also available to anybody that would like one, and the process is the same. We're offering 1.5 hours, classroom hours of CEU credits. You must complete the entire webinar. And when I say entire webinar, you really can't miss more than about 5 or 10 minutes of the webinar to qualify for that. And Zoom has a report that we print out that comes through. Now, if you get kicked off and you log back on again, it will show that. And that's really not a problem as long as there's, again, the minutes add up right for our records so that we can justify that you were participating with the entire webinar. You must also complete the Google survey. It will pop up, it should pop up for you when you log out today from the webinar. But if it doesn't, you will also receive that in a follow-up email from me with the link to Dr. Mottern's slides. And the link to his slides was also should have been in the reminder email, but I'll also include that in the chat as soon as I turn this over to him and we get going. The survey will be open for 1 week. It'll be open until a week from today at 5 p.m. and give me a week from then to get the certificates out to you. So, I know some people are having issues. I'm trying to solve a problem with the format. The certificates go out in a format in a PDF mailer, but for some reason, some computers aren't recognizing that and said they won't recognize the attachment. If you email me back, I'll find the certificate and be able to email it to you again, and that seems to solve the problem. But I'm trying to correct that, and I certainly apologize for that issue. I'm not quite sure why the issue exists. So. Okay, so then next we want to talk about Dr. Mottern, our presenter today. Dr. Mottern is the executive director of the Mottern Institute for Mind Body Wellness. He has 22 years of experience in person and with worldwide virtual training. I'm sorry, I'm messing this up again. Care in the areas of cognitive restructuring, behavioral modification, emotional regulation, and physical improvement. He is a publisher, author of Living Well, a guide to cognitive behavioral skills exercises. Great book. I have the book. And so, Dr. Mottern, I am going to turn it over to you to get started.
Okay, great. Thank you, Marty. Technology is truly an amazing thing when we're neither one of us are in the state of Texas and we're reaching out to people who are all over the world. So it's great that we can do that. Great to be here again. Thank you for having me. Let's go ahead and get started. If you'll go to the next slide. Okay, so the agenda today, it's, what should I do if my loved one is refusing to take their medication? So I want to look at, what can we do number one, realistically, as we look at this, and then look at some reasons that people may be refusing to take the medication. I want to look at a couple of the motivational theories. Those of you who are frequent flyers here for our presentations will recognize some of this. Those of you who have just tuned in, it may be new for you. I'm not going to go in depth over these, but I do want to at least cursorily look at them, look at the basic needs, which are from choice theory psychology. Then it's some personality traits, which may be behind my loved one refusing to take those medications. And then also just look at some common problems, right, that we have to deal with this subject, and also some practical tips that we have. And then also look at some other ways that we can get people to take medication. Just a caveat as we begin these things, we're really not talking about people with dementia, with forms of dementia. When that kicks in, at some point we have to become the parent, or, even if it's a loved one or something like that, even if it's, my spouse or even a child, right, that may have problems, I have to be that parent and what have you, and sort of take control of that situation. But there are 11 tips that we also have on dealing with people with dementia and how we can try to get them to take medication. Some of those will overlap, but some of them are unique to dementia patients. And then if we have time, hopefully we'll have time at the end. I do have that little guided visualization that I like to do at the end of it. If you don't like me doing that, then please write in, let Marty know about that, so we can not do it. But I know that many of you who are on here aren't just on here for CEUs, but you're on here because you're dealing with people in your life. This is a problem for you. You're dealing with loved ones who are refusing their medications and what have you. So this is something that I do for you, and also for the professionals who are on here for the CEUs. I know that you are stressed and you need this, and you may not want to do it, but we'll do it anyway. If you don't like it, tell Marty. We'll stop that. Okay, next slide, please.
No, I'm having a little trouble. Hold on just a second. It's not wanting to. Okay, I'm going to unshare and reshare. For some reason, it's not wanting to advance. So I apologize about that.
Technology is a wonderful thing until it
works. No, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. Stop. Let's see if that'll. Is that are we on the right slide?
Yeah, I think so. So we're looking at what should I do, and I just sort of want to reframe that as, well, what can we do, right? As we meet these refusals and some of this stuff that's going on, that where our loved ones are refusing to take their medications. And the first thing that we can do is really realize our own limitations. I can't make somebody do what they don't choose to do. Now, having worked in corrections for a number of years, I can give you two choices, one slightly less horrendous than the other, to where you would make that choice for the one I wanted you to make, but still you have to choose that, right? So realize the limitations on that. The Stoics, and I always like to throw in the Stoics, who are the sort of the forerunners of cognitive behavioral therapy. Epictetus said, happiness and freedom begin with a close understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not. Another way to put that is all unhappiness in life comes from trying to control things over which we have no control over. So realizing that there are some limitations, there's only so much that we're going to be able to do. And this is talking once again about people who don't have dementia. So especially if we're dealing with patients with dementia, with loved ones who may have some dementia problems, then certainly that's going to be more difficult. But even when we're dealing with people who don't have dementia and are just refusing to take those medications for one reason or another, and we'll look at those as we go forward, then we have to realize that there's only so much that we can do. And, that's a big part of it, because we often feel a big responsibility for doing that. We know the loved ones, they need the medications, for whatever reason they're taking them for, they're going to, they're prescribed for a reason. And we know that we want their best health. We love them. We want them to get well. So we want to do this. We want them to take the medications. And yet sometimes there's just only so much that we can do. And just realizing that can often be a help to sort of release some of the burden on it, that, we can only do so much. We're not really responsible in that case for them making those decisions. And ultimately it is their decision. And when I realize that, then that takes some of the pressure off of me and may improve the relationship to where they actually start to take the medication. But just realizing that there's only so much I can do, and that can oftentimes, like I said, be a great relief to caregivers who are trying to get these loved ones to take medications because they do care about them, right? I mean, that's the reason we want to do it. We want them to get better. We want them to stay well. And there's only so much we can do about that. Next slide, please.
I may have this problem all the way. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, it's still, golly, I am so sorry. See if that will do it. There we go.
Okay, so as I look at what can I do, once again, I can't make anybody do anything they don't choose to do, but there are ways that I can influence people. And that's what I want to look at with this. This comes from choice theory psychology. This is Glasser's 7 deadly habits and 7 caring habits. Now, there's more than 7 of each one. As you look at them, we realize that what's going on here. But that it sounded well with the 7 deadly sins. So he came up with the 7 deadly habits. So these are things, if we want to, in choice theory terminology, get our picture in somebody else's quality world in a way where they'll listen to what I have to say and then respond to that, then I need to use the 7 caring habits. And I need to avoid at all costs the 7 deadly habits, because those deadly habits, and like I said, there's more than 7 of them, but anytime I use any of the deadly habits, then what I'm doing is I'm trying to control other people. And how much do you like to be controlled, right? Nobody really likes to be controlled. So I'm going to resist that. So I want to avoid the deadly habits. I want to foster those caring habits so that then perhaps my influence becomes a little bit greater. And those 7 deadly habits, angering, blaming, complaining, criticizing, demeaning, threatening, or rewarding to control, which is bribing. Although in some cases, in trying to get someone to take medication, bribing may be okay, but it's still just a form of control, right? The point being that all of those sorts of things, and others as well, are forms of control. And when I use them, people are going to tune out. Okay, they're not going to listen to me. They don't want to hear me. They don't want to be controlled, and they just don't want to hear me, so they're going to tune me out. If I use the caring habits, people are much more likely to listen to what I have to say and perhaps be influenced by them. So one of those is accepting, right? And the accepting one is accepting that it's their decision whether or not they just take their medications. Now, like I said, we're mainly talking here about people, and I make this distinction because there's some of the comments in the past have been, well, this doesn't work for dementia patients. Well, okay, that's a different scenario that we're looking at right now, and we'll look at the 11 things at the end. But right now, we're dealing with people who aren't who don't suffer from dementia. So accepting that it's their choice is going to be the same one. Now, and once I accept it's their choice, then this opens me up into a different attitude when I talk to them about, why don't you want to do this, right? And of course, you're told in counselor school, never use why, right? So, What is it that you get out of not using your medications, right? However you want to put that in your relationship with the person. So if your relationship, you can ask why, that's fine. But really accepting that, but it opens up new avenues of communication once I just accept that, if they're not going to do it, they're not going to do it. So it takes the pressure off of me, takes the resistance off of them, but they may reveal in that conversation why they're refusing, and then that allows me to address that. So the next one is encouraging, right? Encouraging that independence, encouraging them to make decisions in their life in any way possible. And we've had presentations on this before where we look at encouraging autonomy, encouraging independence. We know that those things actually support good mental health. And as we lose those, our mental health declines. So we certainly don't want to do that. So I want to encourage them to make all the decisions they can. And once again, this may open it up into a conversation where we can understand why they're refusing to do this. Listening is another one, encouraging them to talk about this, right? Once again, may not want to use why in something like that, may want to rephrase that in a little different way. But what's wrong that you don't want to do this, however you choose to phrase it, but then listening to that and actually listening. The key to listening is empathy. Empathy is understanding and responding to the feelings of others. Carl Rogers, the famous psychologist, humanistic therapy and what have you, he really talked about listening being the key to empathy, being able to listen to what somebody says, repeat it back to them in different words, and if you get it right, if you get the empathy right, if you get that listening right, then they're going to say yes. That's exactly what I meant when I said that. If you get it wrong, they'll let you know. No, that's not what I meant at all. But that doesn't mean that it's over, right? I can simply reframe, say it again, and until I get it right. And when you do, they'll say that. But that really shows listening and that empathy. That's once again, that's the sort of really the key to that whole empathetic concept of understanding the feelings of others is to listen there. And Carl Rogers, like I said, he had some great articles out there on that, really on listening and the importance of that in empathy itself. Once again, respecting that it's their decision whether or not they choose to take those. Now, once again, dementia is going to be a different thing. If they can't make logical decisions, that's one thing, right? But if they're capable of making those logical decisions and they're able to say, this is why I'm not going to do it, then I just have to respect their decision. I just have to come to peace for that for myself. Maybe I need some therapy of my own, right? I'm having a real hard time with their refusal to take the medications. Maybe I'm the one who needs, I need to talk to somebody about this. So, but respecting their decision, whatever that happens to be, supporting them. And I would say not so much supporting their decision not to take the medication, but supporting their right to make that decision, right? It's certainly your right to do this. You've laid out a logical argument for me on this. So I'm going to support you in that right. I don't agree with the decision because I care about you and I want you to take these medications and I think they'll be valuable for you, but I'll support you in the right to make that decision. Trusting is another one. When I support someone, that also shows trust, that I'm trusting that you are able to make your own decisions on this. Once again, going back to that independence, that autonomy. And as I support that, as I support the independence, as I support my loved one's autonomy, that promotes good mental health. And once again, we've looked at the research in the past on this, on how when we take that away, when that's lost for whatever reason, then that also leads to mental health problems, and we don't want that. So trusting that I can, get on board with what their decision is, and even if I, once again, even if I don't get on board with the decision, I, trust that they're making a decision that's good for them. And then the negotiating differences, that's different than bribing, right? We negotiate differences, and as we look at specific situations as we go forward, we'll see how we can negotiate on these things, right? So we have that we can do, and there are other caring habits, like I said, as just like there are other deadly habits, but these are the ones we want to focus on in our daily life. Okay, next slide, please. There we go. Okay, so one of the reasons for refusal may be in the motivation, right? And a motivational theory is, we have many of those. One of those is choice theory psychology, which is the basis for reality therapy. If you have not familiar with choice theory psychology, but reality therapy, William Glasser. And choice theory psychology says that the basic motivators of mankind, humankind, is the basic needs, that we all have 5 basic needs that must be fulfilled. In fact, they're genetic. Whatever level they're sort of set, but we have them and we have to fulfill them. And the longer we go without getting them met, then the stronger they just exert themselves until we do something to meet them. And remember that whatever we do does not have to be good for us, okay? It can be bad for us. The needs, are just genetic needs. We have a frontal lobe, right? We have a prefrontal cortex up there on how to meet those needs that helps us make those decisions. But the needs themselves just demand to be met. We have one physiological need. That's the need for survival, for food, for water, for heat, for air. And then we have 4 psychological needs. And the needs are not term specific. Okay, so there are many synonyms for the same needs, and when we talk about those synonyms, we're talking about the same need. The needs do not overlap. Okay, so there's some games we play on recognizing which need is my biggest, which need is my, the least need that I have, but they don't overlap. I can't, if you think of 4 cups, they're either not full or somewhere between not full and full, but I can't fill one cup with another cup. If I have one cup that's overflowing, I can't go back and fill another cup with what's left over. It doesn't work that way. So I have love, belonging, acceptance. That may be a need that needs to be fulfilled. And especially when we look at the acceptance part of this, remember, acceptance is one of those caring habits, right? So my loved one, whatever the case may be, this may be where they're trying to get that need met. I just need you to accept my decision on this, that I'm not going to take this medication. So that may be where this is coming to the fore, and it's a battle I'm not going to win, right? If I face that head on, it's not going to work that way. I've got to find other ways to meet the need and practice the acceptance as a positive habit, as a caring habit. And as that need is met, as I'm being able to do that, then maybe I can influence that if I understand that, the reason for the refusal is because my decisions are not being accepted by my loved ones. So this is where I'm taking my stand, right? This is the line in the sand that I'm not going to take the medications because I don't feel accepted in other ways. So, but excuse me. So this if I know this, then I can find other ways to show my loved one acceptance, and then they won't be, this won't be the line in the sand. This will be something that I can negotiate with them on the various differences. Okay, the next one, power, recognition, control. Once again, any synonymous term. This is the one that really stands out the most when we're talking about this, where I'm refusing to take medications because I don't feel in control of my life. And this is once again, I can't make somebody do anything they don't choose to do. So this is how I'm going to exert my control. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take the medications. And that's because, once again, that if this need is not being met, this becomes the sticking point, right? This becomes where I'm drawing my line in the sand on this. So by giving people control in other areas of their life, supporting their control in other areas of their life, this medication doesn't become the sticking point. So then maybe as they're getting the need met in other areas of their life, that need for control met, then they don't feel like this is the place that I need to make my stand, right? I don't need to die on this hill, okay? Because if I don't take my medications, they may very well, okay? So this is the hill that, I don't want them to defend this hill. What can we do about this? Let's see how we can give them control in other areas of their lives, support that control, that autonomy, that independence in other areas of their life, and see what can happen. Now, I just used those words, support that independence and autonomy. So let's just go down. That's the next need, freedom, independence, and choice, right? So this may be how I do that. Now, remember, they're not the same need. Control is not the same need as independence, but they're very closely related. The more control I have over my life, generally, the more freedom I have, okay? So those two needs are very closely related. And if I find ways to foster that independence in other ways, foster that autonomy for my loved one in other ways, then once again, this may not be the hill that I have to defend on taking my medications. And then fun, learning, excitement there. I guess, we could make taking medications fun, perhaps, in some way, but that's it itself is another need that has to be fulfilled. Fun, learning, excitement, creativity is another part of this, okay? So those 5 needs, the survival need, as well as the 4 psychological needs, they have to be fulfilled. They have to be fulfilled at all times. If we don't get them fulfilled, they exert themselves even more. And once again, what I do may not be good for me, like not taking my medications, but I won't do it in order to get the acceptance of my position, to be in control of my life, to feel some autonomy, independence in my life. So I'm going to make choices that may not be the best thing for me, but they're going to meet my needs. And once again, the needs don't care, okay? Survival is not the number one need of everybody out there. And there's a depressing number of suicides yesterday, today, and tomorrow as we go on that say that it's not, okay? So for some people, survival, number one need, okay? But for many people, it is not. One of those other needs is stronger. So if my loved one's refusing to do something, once again, figuring out what that need is, why are they doing this? And it may be more than one. It can be more than one of them. It doesn't have to just be one. And like we saw with power and freedom, right? It could be both of those. Acceptance could make it rear its head in there as well. So it could be, many of them that are at work here, but how do I meet these needs in other ways? And then maybe my loved one won't feel such a need to be resistant about this particular one. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, another thing is reason for refusal may just be this is part of their personality. And we looked at this not too long ago, a few weeks ago. We looked at these personality theories, personality theories. Probably the most prominent one right now is the Big Five. And we recognize those by the acronym OCEAN. Okay, there are other acronyms, but this is the one I use. And that stands for these 5 personality traits. It's been well researched. Okay, openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So those are the 5 traits of this Big Five personality theory. Now remember that these are traits, okay? Now there's a difference between a state and a trait. States are like the weather. They change all the time, okay? I can go back and forth between a personality state. I can go back and forth between any of these and their opposites even, okay? But if it's a trait is more like the climate. Okay, we don't want the climate changing a whole lot, right? A few degrees is going to be deadly for us. Okay, so we don't want that climate changing a whole lot, and so it does. That's because it doesn't, right? The traits are fairly stable. Our states change. So these are traits. These are things that don't really change a lot. I mean, once again, it may seem like they change if I look at it independently. Say for openness, I may be more closed one day than I am openness, and than I am open, and what have you. But at the same time, if I look at it over the long term, there's going to be very little fluctuation in these things. Okay, next slide, please. So if we look at some of these things on openness, now if people are high on openness, then they're open to trying new things, focused on new challenges in my life. How can I deal with these? So we have those as those are going on. We can do that. Creative, that creativity is a part of the openness. I like to think about abstract concepts. Concrete thinking is really not my thing. I'm very open to new ideas and what have you, new ways of doing things. But the opposite of that, if I'm low on openness, and this is a continuum, right? If we look at these traits, they're on a continuum. Okay, so I can be low on the openness continuum, or I can be high on the openness continuum. But if I'm low on it, then I really dislike change. Okay, I don't like new things in my life, and that may mean medications, right? That may mean those medications I have to go through a whole new routine and sort these things out, and put them in on a little box. So I don't like this change in my routine. That may be part of it. Okay, I just don't enjoy doing these things. Okay, I don't enjoy that new medication for whatever reason, and we'll talk some more about that when we talk about specifics. New ideas may be in here. The idea that I may need the medication may be new to me, and I don't like that, so I resist that. Excuse me. I have, like I said before we got started, I'm presenting from a different part of the country, and I noticed that I traded one form of pollen for another form of pollen. So I've got some stuff going on here, so please excuse me. If I'm low on openness, I'm not very imaginative and what have you. I just like those theoretical concepts, those abstract concepts don't mean a whole lot to me. So once again, the reason I'm resisting that medication, or my loved one is resisting that medication, is because perhaps I just may be low on openness. I'm really not open to doing new things. I don't like that idea. Okay, so that's just a part of my personality that I'm going to have to learn to deal with. Next slide, please. Conscientiousness is the next one that is there. And the conscientiousness, if I'm high on that, I like to spend a lot of time in preparing. This is a person who likes to sit down and go through all those pills and put them in pill boxes, right? 3 or 4 weeks at a time, maybe, as we get those going. If I'm high on that conscientiousness, I want to do those important tasks. I want to do them right now as soon as I get them. I want to go do that. Pays close attention to detail, enjoys having a set schedule, these sorts of things. But if I am low on this, okay, I dislike structure. So if I'm supposed to take my medication at a certain time every day, you know what? I don't like that. I don't like that structure. I don't like that schedule. I don't like anything about it. So this may be part of it that's driving that refusal. I just don't like doing these things. Make messes, don't take care of things, fail to return things, put them back where they belong, and that can include the medications, right? Where did the medications go? They're not in the cabinet where they're supposed to be. They're not on the countertop where they're supposed to be. What happened to them? Well, I don't like doing it, so I don't care where they are, right? Fails to complete necessary or assigned tasks like taking my medications, things of that nature. And then procrastinate, right? I was supposed to take my medication this morning, but you know what? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I still haven't taken it. So once again, it could be a part of my personality, that refusal to take my medications just because I'm low on this conscientiousness, right? So that's a part of the personality profile that we have to look at, and then look at ways to deal with that as well. Next slide, please. Extraversion may be one. If I'm an extrovert, if I'm high on that, I enjoy being the center of attention, like to start conversations, enjoys meeting new people, wide circle of friends, easy to make new friends. In fact, extroversion and introversion really are about energy and where I get that energy. And I feel energized when I'm around other people. The opposite of that, introverts, I can be around other people. Once again, it's a continuum, right? I can certainly do that, but I'm worn out by the time. It just sucks the energy out of me. It does not give me energy, it depletes it. And extroverts often say things before they really think them through and what have you. However, if I'm low on the extroversion scale, low on that continuum, doesn't mean I'm an introvert, but it means could be low on extroversion here. I prefer solitude. Don't like people so much around because those tend to drain my energy. Feel exhausted if I have to deal with them. Find it difficult to start conversations. Don't like to talk about small talk, and I may consider my medication small talk. Right. So it just depends. So, think things carefully through before speaking. And this can be a good part of that if I'm sort of low on extroversion, because as we try to find out the reason for the refusal, this is somebody, if they're low on extroversion, that can probably, they have some logical thinking, at least part of it's logical to them behind that. So they're able to, make an argument for themselves not taking it, which is a whole lot easier than somebody saying, I just refuse to take it. Well, what's the reason behind that? If they're low on the extroversion, they're much more likely to be easier to talk to about why they're doing this. And then I dislike being the center of attention if I'm low on the extroversion scale. Okay, next slide, please. Agreeableness. Okay, you want somebody who's high on agreeableness when you want to take medication. So have a great deal of interest in other people, cares about other people, enjoys helping and contributing to the happiness of other people. I'd really be happy if you took the medication. I'll assist others who are in need of help. Very empathetic. However, if they're low on that agreeableness scale, I take little interest in others. I don't care that you're worried about me so much and my health as we move forward on this. It's I just don't care. I just have very little interest in that about you. Don't care about how other people feel. Once again, has little interest in other people's problems. Once again, I don't care if you find it uncomfortable that I'm not taking my medications. And then I may even insult and belittle you because of it, and then manipulate you in other ways in order to get you to leave me alone because I don't care how that makes you feel. So we really hope even if all the other ones are sort of off skewed, then we want people to be high on agreeableness. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes they're very low on that, which makes it even more difficult to deal with them when we're trying to get them to do something that's good for them that they don't want to do. And the next one, please. That last one is neuroticism. Okay. So if I'm high on neuroticism, have a lot of stress in my life, worry about a lot of different things. And this is one that may be, especially if it's a new medication or something like that, right? That I don't know about this medication. I was reading some of the side effects of it, and don't ever let anybody read the possible side effects of the medications. Nobody would ever take anything, right? If you even aspirin, if you read the possible side effects of that. But if I'm high on the neurotic part, then certainly, I've got lots of concerns about this medication, what have you. Some of those may be well-founded. We don't want to just dismiss them, but some of them, if I'm high on the neuroticism, I just get easily upset. Dramatic shifts in mood, feeling anxious most of the time, and really struggle to bounce back after something that's been stressful in my life. If I'm low on that neuroticism, I'm pretty much emotionally stable. I deal good with stress, don't get depressed or sad very often, doesn't worry a whole lot, feel relaxed most of the time. This is euthymic, right? In the clinical terms, this is euthymia. Okay, that's what low on neuroticism is, euthymic. So these are all personality traits. Once again, there may be some little variation in them, and one day to another and what have you, because they are on a continuum. All of them are on a continuum. But if we look at them over time, we're going to see that these do not alter very much at all. Once again, much more like the climate than a state, which would be more like the weather. But this may be the reason that my loved one is refusing their medication, and that is because it's part of the personality trait that they have, and they are just constitutionally not going to want to take the medication because of the personality trait. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's look at some common problems that we may have, and there's a lot more. I'm sure that you could put, tons of them. If we ask for those in the Q&A or in the chat, you could put tons of these things. Here's just some common ones that I want to look at, and also some practical tips. So a common problem, just they refuse to take the medication. Well, what can we do as we use these caring habits and negotiate differences, right? Still supporting their decision on not doing that. Because it may not be all of it, may not be all of their medications. Maybe they just don't want to take some of them. Okay, so focus on the critical ones. Okay, what do they really need to take? Now, often we need to take all of them or we wouldn't be on them, right? But some of them are more critical than others. If I don't take my, personally, if I don't take my statin, it's not going to kill me within the next week, right? In a couple of years, if I don't take my statin, it may have a heart attack. I may die. But if I'm refusing to take that, okay, all right, you don't take that. But if I refuse to take my blood pressure medication, that's something else, okay? Because without that medication, I'm going to stroke out and before too long. And so, okay, all right, my wife's dealing with me. Okay, you don't want to take the statin, that's okay. So let's go ahead and take the blood pressure medication. That's the important one right now. We'll work on the statin later. So if you can make those decisions, like I said, if we don't need them, then we don't need to be on them. But if some of them sometimes are more critical than others, right? So focus on the critical medications first. What are we going to do about those? Choose your battles, right? Choose your battles on this. Focus on those critical ones first. Okay, next slide, please. So the common problem is I don't like to take the medication because of the flavor or format of it. Once again, as I use those caring habits, these may engender discussion on this, on why I don't want to take it. Okay, well, because it tastes awful. I can't stand the taste of it, or the format itself, right? I have a really hard problem taking these pills like this. Can we get it in some other format? So talk to the physician, talk to the pharmacist, right? Can we get this same thing in a different format? Can we get it in a different flavor? Is there something we can do to deal with this? Because now, after talking about it, then we realize that this is what the problem is. I just don't like the flavor. I just don't like the way I'm taking that. So talk to the physician, talk to the pharmacist about, how can I take this differently? Instead of taking one big pill, take it in two halves, right? It doesn't mean just half the medication, but it means, take half the medication, take one half, and then take the other half, right? So I don't have to take a horse pill, which I have problems swallowing at one time. May even need to crush it, right? May even need to get that so I can sprinkle it on something that I do like. Applesauce is a good thing for most people. Sprinkle it on that, sprinkle it on something else. So I'm getting the medication. What was keeping me from taking it was I just didn't like the format of it. So once again, as I practice these caring habits, going back to that and going back to looking at those, as I avoid at all costs the deadly habits, which unfortunately is where we find ourselves going most of the time, is with those deadly habits. But as I learn to shun those and start to inculcate those caring habits in my life, that's going to engender the conversation where I can go back, where I can look at this and say, okay, well, this is the reason. I was able to talk to somebody in a reasonable manner, and this is what it is. So we can work on that. We can deal with that, and then problem solved, right? So that's one possible thing. Be great if that was it all the time, right? We could just do that and they'd be over with it. Unfortunately, It's not all the time. That's the problem. Next slide, please. Okay. May have difficulty remembering to take the medications. Okay. You know what? This is one that shouldn't be a problem. Okay. We have so much smart technology out there that it's incredible. We have Siri, we have Alexa, we have, smart watches. Okay. Both of my parents have smart watches. They're in their late 70s and early 80s. Okay. If they can figure out how to work it, then your loved one can probably figure out how to work it as well. Okay, so we have these sorts of things. We can set alarms on this, and it doesn't have to be smart technology. Maybe we just need to set alarms otherwise, less smart technology. But especially with this smart technology, there's many things. So there's no real reason that we should forget to take medications. I deal with this with kids a lot, right? And when I'm working with kids and trying to get them to use their skills or about something that we're working on, well, I forgot to do it. Okay, well, do you have a phone? Do you have an iPad? Do you have something that you use? Yes. How do you get up in the morning? Well, I have an alarm clock. Okay, well, you know how to set it? Yeah, you can set an alarm to tell you to do this. Okay, you can set it for one thing, you can set it for another. So really working with the technology that we have right now to be able to get people to remember to take their medications. And I have a problem with this myself, when I'm taking my medications. I don't have a specific time that I have to take them, but I may forget. Some days I take them first thing in the morning when I get up, and then other days I realize it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't taken my blood pressure medication. So, so it, it lets itself be known. So it gets taken, but maybe not at the best time for it. But use the technology that's out there. Okay, it's certainly available. Put it on the phone. Put it on a wristwatch, one of the smart watches, something like that. Have Siri or Alexa, come up with something that says that. I noticed. I just have some. Stuff that's popping up on the bottom of my screen. Somebody said, a smart medication dispensers that are out there, they certainly have those. Okay. I'm more familiar with those working with the substance abusing clients who have their medications put in what's called a hero, which dispenses them at certain times. But that could certainly be one, right? When the dispenser goes off, I know it's time to take my medication, right? So we can certainly use those as well. All sorts of things that we have out there that's available to us. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, difficulty swallowing pills, right? I mean, some people just don't like to swallow pills. Doesn't matter whether they're huge pills. We can cut them up if that's a problem. But some people just have difficulty swallowing them. There are different things we can do for that. One is hypnosis. Next slide, please. So if, this is something that hypnotists deal with on a common basis, okay, is swallowing, gag reflex, these sorts of things. That's common fare, okay? Probably not as common as smoking cessation and weight management, right? But almost, okay, almost as common. If you think that would help, okay, if your loved one's open to that and they just have a problem swallowing pills or whatever, then call the National Guild of Hypnotists, okay? There's their link is right down there. You can contact them. You can say, this is where I live. This is where I live. Please refer me to somebody from the National Guild. Or you can look up just local hypnotists. I can't speak for, their quality. NGH, however, National Guild of Hypnotists is a quality organization. So they will certainly make referrals for people in your area. So if that's the problem, right, if my loved one is open to that, then, I can do that. That can help me with swallowing the pills if that happens to be the problem. Like I said, it's a common problem among people, along with the gag reflex and things like that. And I can certainly deal with it. But also, loved ones who may have to receive medications through injection or what have you, and they just don't like injections or whatever it happens to be, they can deal with that as well. Okay, so there's that you can look at. Another one, next slide, please, is the pop bottle method. This is our 2 methods of swallowing. Okay, and I put this on here. You have this, look at the slides, go back to that. But this is one way that I can deal with, have problems swallowing medication. I can use this method, that pop bottle method. Just fill that plastic water bottle or soda bottle, preferably not with soda. If it's a soda bottle, still fill it with water, right? And put the tablet on the tongue, close to the lips, and I'm sorry, put the tablet on the tongue, close your lips tightly around that bottle, and then squeeze, right? Sort of as you take a drink, sort of squeezing that bottle as you do so, sort of have that rush of liquid into the mouth that helps swallow it. So I don't, I'm not really aware of the pill, right? I'm not really aware that the pill is there. Sometimes I have to use that myself. Don't use a pop bottle so much, but big drink of water, right? So because I have some big pills, but that's one. Okay. Next slide, please. Another one's called the lean back method. So the first step of the lean back method is to lean forward, right? And put the capsule on the tongue, take a sip of the water, then tilt my chin toward the chest, and as my head is bent, that's when I swallow it. Okay, so this one actually is a better method if you look at the research on this, and I provided the reference to this up there. But if you look at this actually has an 87% effectiveness rating over just taking the pill naturally, okay, without using any other method. So people who have problems swallowing pills, they use the lean back method, as an 87% more effective rate on that than not using anything at all, which is even better than the pop bottle method. So, okay, next slide, please. Okay, my loved ones think medications are unnatural. It's an easy way out. I should be able to exercise my way out of this. I should change my diet, be able to do this, whatever it is. Pills just an easy way. Medication is just an easy way out. Well, enlist the help of the physician or the social worker, whichever the case happens to be. If they're thinking it's unnatural or something like that, or I ought to be able to do this in some other way. The easy way out is usually where you want to talk to the physician. The unnatural part of that's probably you're going to need the social worker for that, right? To do a little therapy with the loved one, to look at their thinking about that little cognitive restructuring, right? What are some of the irrational thoughts they may be having about this, and then correcting those thoughts as you go. If it's an easy way out, once again, lots of self-disclosure today, but that's one of the reasons that I take a statin is my blood pressure was the good cholesterol. I'm sorry, not blood pressure, but the good cholesterol was so low. Doctor said, I've only seen two people who are that low. He said, there's nothing you can do for it. He says, it's genetic. You can't exercise your way out of it. You can't eat your way out of it. Adjust your diet. It's not going to help you. If you don't do something, you're going to end up with a heart attack. That's how low it is. So you can make that choice, right? But this is what's going to happen. Maybe not today, once again, but in a few years, this is what you're going to be looking at. So, once he, lets me know this, lets me know what the facts are, then I can make a decision. Okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't take up, running, can't take up swimming, can't, adjust my diet, go on an all protein diet, whatever it happens to be. I can't do that. It's not going to make any difference. So I'm going to have to take the medications or suffer the consequences, right? So once again, prescribing physician, get them to talk to the patient, or get the social worker to talk to the patient. And once they can help you with that. Don't think you have to do it alone is really the point. Okay, enlist your resources there. Talk to the doctor, have the doctor talk to the person about it, really sit down and have a conversation about it, or with the social worker if that's what you think you need. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is a big one as well. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with the side effects of the medication, okay? This comes with side effects. I don't want to deal with it. So if that's the problem, talk to the physician about the side effects. Again, if necessary, okay, we've all been there. We know that oftentimes, you know, I'll tell my physician one thing and then I go in and they're, you know, for my blood pressure, you know, they used to give me a HZTZ as a part of it, but that gave me gout. So not good. Let me tell you, if you've never had gout, you don't want it. If you have, you know what I'm talking about. But, you know, I have to remind him when he says, you know, I think we need to adjust the medications. Why don't we try this? And sometimes I have to say, no, we're not going to do that because it's going to, we can't do anything with HCTZ in it because it's going to give me gout and I'm not going to deal with that. I'd rather die of a heart attack. So again, if necessary, talk to them about those side effects or with other problems that you may have with the treatments. Okay. They see a lot of people, you know, over the day and then over the weeks and over the months and what have you. So they don't always recall that sort of stuff, even though it should be in your chart. Sometimes they overlook that. So talk to them about it, especially if it's side effects, because sometimes the side effects are temporary, right? So sometimes the side effects may occur for just a little while, you know, it may happen for a week or two, and then they go away. So, you know, that may help my loved one. Okay, well, if they're going to be gone in a couple of weeks, then maybe I can go ahead and take this. I can deal with it for that long because I need to. I need to deal with this. I need to take this medication. So start that conversation. Have that conversation with your provider once again. Next slide, please. Okay, I may be taking medications that aren't working for me. So why would I want to? Okay, well, you need to take this medication. Why do I need to take it? It's not doing anything for me. So why am I just taking another medication? Okay, once again, I'm going to have to talk to the physician about maybe, you know, it's not working. Okay, well, you're prescribing it and it's not working. So what can we do about this? Let's find something else that does work. Once again, you have to be sort of your own advocate in these things, right? You can't just say, well, it's not working, I'm not going to take it, and that's that. Because I need to do something, right? I need to do something as we move forward. Our loved ones need to do something. They're not just prescribing medications just to be prescribing them. If they are, you need a new you need a new physician. But, you know, talk to the physician, say, you know, this is, you know, it's been a while. We've been on this. This is time enough for it to have worked. It's not working. Let's try something else. Because for some people, some things just don't work. Okay, I mean, that's just what it is. It may work for everybody else who was in the trial, okay, but it doesn't work for me because I wasn't in the trial, right? I have some different circumstances in my life. You know, this is something I've learned from once again, from dealing with substance abusers over the years is they will tell you, they know a lot about medications and what have you. And they will tell you, you know, this one does not work for me. Okay. And I'm talking about not for the abuse part of it, but for wellness as well. You know, their knowledge of drugs expands only the therapeutic ones as well as the non-therapeutic ones. So they'll say, you know, I can't use this one. It has to be a name brand. If I don't, you know, if I use a generic one, it's not going to work. The doctor's got to prescribe the name brand one. Otherwise, it's just not going to be effective for me. So maybe the same thing. Maybe the same thing. So as we get to that, talk to the physician, say it's not working for me. Let's see what we can do. And he may actually do that, right? He may actually say, okay, well, I prescribed a generic, or the pharmacy's given a generic. I'll prescribe the name brand of this, and we'll see. We'll see what it is. See if it works. You know, it's not supposed to be a difference in them, but like I said, over the years, I've found people who are very knowledgeable about drugs had to say, oh yes, there's definitely a difference in them. So I believe those people. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so these, once again, most everything we've talked about so far has dealt with dealing with people who can set down, you know, if they refuse to do this, I can accept their decision, I can support their right to make the decision and what have you, and hopefully get to a point where de-escalate the resistance that's going on there, so we can have a rational conversation about it. And they can say, well, this is the reason I don't want to deal with it, right? This is the reason I don't want to take this. And then we can work on problem solving that. However, if I'm dealing with someone with dementia, that's a different story, right? In many different ways. So one of the things, create a calm and quiet environment. Less dementia patients, if things are going on around me, you know what? I'm not going to do anything, okay? You're trying to get me to take this in the middle of a family argument or something like that. It's probably not going to happen, right? I'm not going to take it, okay? And keep it calm, keep it quiet, create that environment. It's gonna help. Number two, once again, be alert to the side effects that make people feel sick or uncomfortable. Oftentimes they have dementia, they can't tell us that, right? So we have to pay attention. Okay, whenever they've started taking this new medication, now they're starting to get sick. Now there are other side effects of this. So I have to be aware of that because they're not going to tell me. Okay, so I have to be aware of what's going on with them as much as possible. Number three, eliminate medication or supplements that aren't absolutely necessary. This is a very interesting one. My grandmother had dementia she died at 90, so she was, live long enough, we're probably going to get dementia of some sort. So she had dementia, so she couldn't tell us really toward the end what was going on with her and whatever. After she died, we found out that she was still being prescribed Prozac. Okay, now my grandmother did not need to be on Prozac whatsoever, but that medication had been prescribed early in her illness, and then she had to go into assisted living. And when she did that, they just continued that, and we never knew that. Okay, or we would have said, why is she still on Prozac? What is this doing? What good is this doing for her in the state she's in? So sometimes, just eliminate medications or supplements, especially that aren't really absolutely necessary. Focus more on the critical ones, right? You're taking supplements for this, and maybe they're just feel like they're taking too many pills, right? Or trying to get somebody to take pills over and over and over again, especially when they have dementia. Not a good thing. So, get rid of those that aren't absolutely necessary. Focus on the critical ones. Make the pills easier to take. We've talked about that. Maybe that's the problem. Okay. I just don't, once again, I have a hard time swallowing them or whatever it happens to be. Make the pills easier to take. And like I said, if you're dealing with dementia, a lot of these things you're just going to have to notice yourself or try to notice, right? What's really going on here? You're going to have to pay attention to these things because they won't tell you or they can't tell you that this is the reason. But if you give them the medication, if you give them the pill, you notice they're having trouble with it, maybe you need to cut it in half. Maybe we need to powder it, put it on some applesauce, give it to them, what have you. Okay, so make those pills easier to take. We've got to watch when they can't tell us what's going on. Number five, use short sentences and don't explain too much or try to reason with them. Okay, if someone has dementia, that means the brain is not working the way it's supposed to. So your reasoning means absolutely nothing. Okay, this is sort of a pet peeve for me of people who try to reason with people with dementia. I have to say, it's not going to do any good. You're making a perfectly logical and sensible argument, but you know what? Their brain isn't working like that. Okay, so your argument means nothing. So don't waste your time doing that. Okay, try to watch, figure out what's going on. Use short sentences, and don't explain. Don't try to explain it or reason with it because the brain's not working. That's what dementia does. Okay, so it's not working that way. So you're just wasting your time. You're getting yourself frustrated for no reason. Next slide, please. Look for, once again, this is what I'm talking about. Look for things that trigger distress, right? So if somebody is, if they're having problems swallowing that when I give it to them, if that's causing them distress, other things, you notice that they're making a face, like it doesn't taste good whenever they have to take their medication, whatever it may happen to be. then look for those distress triggers. Okay, so those are things, once again, that we can sort of problem solve. They can't tell us themselves, and they won't tell us themselves. So we have to sort of pay attention to those, look for those things. Number 7, be a medication buddy, right? If you're taking your medication, if you have medication to take, then, say, okay, it's time for us to take our medication. So, create a shared experience there where, you're taking it, so they're taking it as well. And you can, maybe aspirin. You may be taking yourself some aspirin if you're having problems with them, right? But be the medication buddy where they have somebody to do this with, so they don't feel like they're doing it alone, that they're the center of attention. Number 8, don't force it. Okay, if they refuse to take, wait a while. Come back a little while later, 10 or 15 minutes later, maybe a little later if you can, and try to get them to take it again. Okay, so once again, might not be the right time. Might be things going on which we may not be aware of, but they're very aware of. Give those things time to settle down, or give that mood that they're in time to pass, because that will happen with dementia. Come back later and try it again. Number 9, find the right time of day. Sometimes people are more amenable at certain times of day. Find out what that is. They won't take it in the morning, but they'll take it, a little later, before afternoon. Then try to set that as the time they're taking the medication, or vice versa, right? They take it at night, and they can take it at night, and then do that. But try to find the right time of day to do that. And then stick to whatever that routine you develop is, whatever the one that works for you is. Try to stick to it as long as possible and as much as possible. Now, that may change over time, right? We may notice that, what used to work is not working anymore. So I may have to figure out a different routine, but try to figure that out. Once again, what's going on. And then once that routine, once we figure out what's wrong, then make that the new routine. And then 11, offer a treat. As I said, bribing, it's one of the deadly habits, but I think it may work, at this point. Bribing sometimes in these sorts of cases may actually work in working with dementia patients. Take this and you can, have the treat. So those are some of the things I can do, specifically if I'm dealing with dementia patients. Now, like I said, many of them overlap with the regular things we're going to do, even if they don't have dementia. But it's certainly easier to understand motivation if they don't have dementia. If they do have dementia, then I'm just going to have to watch, right? I'm just going to have to try to figure out what's going on here and figure out the best thing to do. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. I did provide you with some references there, and I don't know. I've got 15 after here. I'm not sure if that's the correct.
That's what I have as well.
Okay. Well, let's just go to the questions then. If we have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
There are a couple in the Q&A. The first one. And you may have seen this, I don't know. My mother has severe arthritis and cannot use smart technology. I guess this is more of a comment, and does not want to use Alexa or letting me call her as a reminder.
Okay, yeah, that would be one where I may have to, look at different ways that I can approach that. It may just be setting down, if she's mentally able to have that rational conversation and just go over choices and consequences, right? Well, if you choose not to be reminded, right, the consequence is you're not going to take the medication. And if you don't take the medication, then your arthritis is going to get worse. Okay. Or at least you're going to feel worse, right? Whatever it happens to be. But I may just have to go through choices and consequences and realize that, okay, then that's their choice. If they refuse all the, choices that I can come up with, then, that's their choice. Make no choice is a choice, right? So they may be able to do that. But during that conversation, hopefully, You can sort of figure out what else, because that sort of sounds like something else is going on there. I'm not quite sure if it is or not. I mean, you're in that situation, you would know better. But ultimately, it's their choice. If they choose pain over the help that can be given them, that's part of autonomy, right? That's part of independence. I can always make that choice. But trying to find out what if something else is going on, I would think would be, reasonable. And I'm sure you have, but maybe focusing more on it. Okay.
The next one is a comment as well. My father is 82 and uses RX bottles, tan for the morning and green for night. There's no internet where we live. I make his meds up about every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, whatever works, right? If I can remember green and tan, hey, great. You go through and you separate them out, get them all done. And, 1 week I take this, the next week I take that. So, or, I take this one day, I take that the other day. Great. Good suggestion.
There's a question from someone, and I don't know if you know it or somebody else knows it, but it asks if Medicare will pay for home health services to help patients organize or take the meds.
I have no idea. Somebody else is going to have to answer that.
Yeah, I don't either, and somebody on the line may, and if not, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can get you to somebody that would know that, but I don't know the answer. I apologize. I think that someone asked, really, does meds give gout?
Yes, they do. Let me assure you. It was the HZTZ, right, which is the diuretic. That's what did it. The gout medication itself I could take. It was just that caused the problem. So I just had to get the medication without that.
So someone asked, or someone answered the question. In regards to Medicare paying, it would have to be an unusual circumstances, like the person being blind, or possibly maybe to train the family to do it. But it's probably pretty few exceptions that would make that available. My dad has VA benefits that have RNs come. Oh, someone just other, I'm sorry, answers to the questions. Very good. Well, I think that's the majority of them. Will probably end up with more as you do the meditation. Oh, I'm sorry. There's another one that just popped up in the Q&A. My father had his home health nurse do his meds for morning and night. I guess that again, some more answers.
Yeah, and that's sort of common. That's something that's sort of common that they, if you have somebody coming in, that they will do that. So it's always good to ask if you do.
Very good. I think that right now that's probably it for now for questions.
Okay, great. Well, I think we have I'll do about a 5-minute sort of guided visualization, sort of progressive muscle relaxation here for those of you, like I said, who are struggling with this, it's something you deal with on a daily basis. And even if you're here for the professional part of that, then you need some relaxation as well, right? So it's probably time that you don't schedule in for yourself because you're busy helping other people. But we need to take care of ourselves. Can't pour from an empty cup, right? And stress is a problem that we all have to deal with, especially after what we've come through for the past few years. So if you would, go ahead and sit back wherever you are. If you can do that, if you can lay down, that's fine. Still listen. Sit back in a chair, whatever it happens to be. Close your eyes because we're going to do some visualization here. Use the imagination. And start that breathing. Start that deep abdominal breathing. Just visualize that there's a balloon in your lower abdomen, and just put a hand down there over that lower abdomen. Imagine there's a balloon underneath it, and inhale through the nose for a count of 4. And as you do, that air comes in through the nose, goes straight to that balloon, inflates the balloon, lifts your hand. Hold it for a count of 4, and then exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. And as you exhale, that balloon deflates, allowing the hand to drop on the abdomen. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for a count of 8. That stimulates the vagus nerve, causing the release of serotonins, melatonins, and endorphins in the body. 90% of the serotonins in the body are in the gut. Through that vagal nerve stimulation, they're moved up the gut-brain axis into the brain where they're put to work. So continue that breathing, and you're in charge of the counting. Count as fast or as slow as you want, but breathe through the nose for 4, hold for 4, exhale through the mouth for a count of 8. And as you continue to breathe in, tell yourself to relax. And as you exhale, tell yourself deeper. And actually allow yourself to do that now. Allow yourself to relax deeper, going deeper and deeper and deeper to a wonderful state of relaxation and calmness. And as you continue to breathe, as you continue to tell yourself to relax deeper, now imagine, visualize, see in your mind's eye that right above the top of your head is suspended a container of liquid. And this is a very special liquid. It's a very precious liquid. Whatever this precious liquid touches causes whatever it touches to become perfectly relaxed, perfectly calm, and perfectly peaceful. So if you would, imagine that container tipping over ever so slightly, pouring a thin stream of that precious liquid right onto the very top of your head. And as that liquid begins to spread over the top of your head, all the scalp muscles underneath it begin to relax. And not only visualize that, but feel that as well. We know that any place we concentrate our mind and the body, that moves blood to that area. Blood carries oxygen, and the more oxygen that the muscles have, the more relaxed they become. So feel that liquid as it flows down the front of the head, down over the forehead and the eyelids, down over the nose and the cheeks, down over the lips and the chin, allowing all those muscles to become calm. Feel it flowing down the sides of the head, down over the temples, over the ears, flowing down over the jaws, where we often carry tension, causing us to grind our teeth or clench our jaws. Now, any tension that's there simply disappears as it's replaced by that precious liquid. Feel it flowing down the back of the head, down the back of the neck, allowing those muscles to relax too. Feel it flowing down the upper back muscles, allowing those trigger points to release, those muscles to become loose. Flowing down the middle back, doing the same. Flowing down the lower back, creating a wonderful cascade of relaxation from the upper back to the middle back to the lower back. Feel that liquid as it flows down over the shoulders, allowing your shoulders to sink and to relax. Flowing through the upper arm muscles, through the elbows, through the forearms, through the wrists, through the hands, through each of the individual fingers, leaving your arms totally and perfectly relaxed. Feel that liquid as it flows down over the chest, allowing the chest muscles to relax, pooling in the hollow of the throat, where we often carry tension in our bodies without being aware of it. Now, any tension that's there simply disappears as it's replaced by that precious liquid. Feel it flowing down over the sternum, over the ribs, allowing the muscles surrounding those to become calm and peaceful. Feel it flowing down over the abdomen, over the sides of the waist. And once again, visualize that that liquid is not only on the surface of the skin, that it penetrates through the skin, through the muscles, into the very organs themselves, causing very deep relaxation and calmness. Feel it flowing down over the hips, through the thighs, allowing those muscles to relax, through the knees, through the shins and the calves, through the ankles, through the feet, through each of the individual toes, leaving your entire body relaxed and calm and peaceful. And now in just a moment, I'll count to 3. When I reach 3, we'll open our eyes, feeling relaxed and refreshed, feeling absolutely wonderful. We're at 1 now, feeling relaxed. We're at 2, feeling relaxed and refreshed. And now we're at 3, feeling relaxed and refreshed, feeling absolutely wonderful. And as you open your eyes, Just take a deep breath, let it out. Allow yourself to just remain relaxed and calm and peaceful. Okay.
There is a long scenario here, and I think probably the best thing for me to do at this point is to email that to you, and maybe Madison, we could email that the response back to you if you don't mind that. And I did see that, Madison, you had your hand up, and I apologize, in the webinar format, we really don't with this many people on, don't go to open up the mics, just because it's too difficult to manage with the number of people we have. But I will take your question and forward it to Dr. Mottern and see if we might be able to get an answer it for you that way, if we could. If we can, and yes, there will be a recording available. We record all of the webinars, and for any of you that got on late, or for those people that even registered and can't be here today, that recording will go out with the second follow-up email. We'll do 2 follow-up emails. The first one will have the CEU information and the link to Dr. Mottern's slides, and the second one will have the link to the recording on YouTube, and that will go out a little over, it'll probably be more like 10 days from now, because I'm out of town and I have to get back and get caught up with those. That's easier to do in my office than it really is to do on the road. Dr. Mottern, did you have anything else before we go to the CEUs?
I don't believe so. I noticed somebody asked to elaborate sort of on the buddy system, and that's really just what it is that I'll take, if I'm taking medication, I just take it at the same time, so they're not taking it alone. Even if I have to, even if it's an Altoid or so, if I'm dealing with people with dementia, I just take a couple of Altoids and chew them up, or or whatever it happens to be. Tic Tacs are another one, right? Tic Tacs are a good one because they're not very big; they look like a pill, and so it's just so they don't feel like they're doing it alone, right? So I'm just taking something with them. Like I said, maybe an aspirin, or a couple of aspirin, or whatever it happens to be, or like I said, Tic Tac, right? I'm just taking something with them, so they're not doing that alone.
And people are commenting on the meditation, which is just incredible. And I just want to make the point of, I know you guys can get off if it's not the right thing for you, but just think about, if the fact that you need to hurry up and get off is probably a sign that you may need the meditation, because we all have our hectic schedules, and we're managing too much. But just throwing that a thought out there. So I'm going to go ahead and get on to, here is Dr. Mottern's contact information. I want to leave that up there for just a second. You have that in your slides. You will get that with the slides in the follow-up email, but please feel free to reach out to him. And then the next, we're going to go back over, if I can, maybe not. There we go. I'm sorry. So we're going to go back over the CEUs. For those of you that are on today looking for CEUs, we're providing CEUs complimentary for licensed social workers and licensed professional counselors in Texas. In order to be eligible for the CEUs, you have to be on for the entire live webinar. You can't miss more than about 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes of the webinar in total. We get a report from Zoom. That is our documentation that you were on. We have to have that in order to, for our records. I have been audited before, and I do have to send those down to Austin when we do get audited. So, also, there's a certificate of attendance available. Anyone's welcome to fill out the form and ask for that the same rules apply. It's for 1.5 hours of classroom credit. The Google survey for it must be filled out by everybody that wants CEUs or a certificate of attendance but we ask everyone to fill out the Google survey just because that's for our funders and that helps us significantly. It should pop up as you close out of the webinar today. I know for some people there's pop-up blockers. You will also receive that in the first follow-up email that will probably go out tomorrow morning to you all. The Google survey will be up and live for a week till 5 p.m. next Wednesday, and the certificates should be out to y'all by the following week, which would be 2 weeks from today. And so that being said, boy, all of a sudden now it was doing just great. Now all of a sudden it wants to give me a little bit of a problem here. So our next webinar with Dr. Mottern is going to be on Wednesday the 11th. My loved one keeps obsessing. How can I help them get past it? That I think is going to be a big topic. But make sure you mark your calendars. On the follow-up emails, I also have a list underneath of links to the flyers for all of the upcoming webinars we're doing. So look out for that. Dr. Mottern, thank you so very, very much. Incredible information. I love your insight and obviously your significant experience you have in giving really scenarios and really understanding all of this in a way that's really very, very firsthand information. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a great day. I apologize. I'm traveling and so I had some technical difficulties today, but I certainly apologize for those. But please join us again, and we look forward to seeing you guys at the next one. Have a great day.